My calling is that of identity. The fact that you can have 1,000 people who are in agreement to a wrong thing does not make it right. So right is right, even when no one does it. Wrong is wrong, even when everybody does it.
I want to dwell a little bit on your history. And then I want us to go to your African philosophy and the gospel according to Joshua Maponga. You were an elder in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a preacher, a very big person there. And then at some point, something went right or wrong. Can you tell us a little bit about that transition from being a church leader to then being a vocal speaker of African philosophy?
A very interesting question that addresses my history. And you are not addressing my history in its authenticity, but addressing my history in its coloniality. You are not asking me who I was meant to be, and who am I, but what the institutions of learning made me to be. I'm a third generation Adventist, if that makes any sense to any of you. My grandfather, my father, and me. Big family of preachers, the best in the country, here in Zimbabwe, converting thousands of people, building hundreds of churches. I worked there for 33 years as a minister. And when the Adventist Church felt my thinking, the way of processing and reasoning, packaging, inclusive to Afrocentric interpretation of our plight, I found that the church was found wanting. My religion became a miniskirt. It was too short in the front. And when you cover the front, it was too short at the back. When you cover the back, I hope you can get the imagery. I had to stop and say, if the God that the white man brought to Africa allows the white man to colonize the African, take his land, rape his women, give him minerals, and this God is actually saying, yeah, because you were disobedient, you broke my commandments, that's why I'm sending you through that. 400 years later, I look at that narrative and I say, this is not right. Even as a circumcised theologian, the same black book then says, I'll send you into slavery for 400 years. And after 400 years, I will let you go back to your land. And then I look at my prophetic charts and discover that even the Bible says, slavery is over. Whatever crime we committed against this God, we have paid for it. It's time up for the colonialist to go back home and give us our space. Using the same biblical narrative for those of you who are in that space. Even the Bible does not allow colonialism to go beyond my generation. And I am here to make that declaration that the honeymoon of colonialism, with all its gadgets, governance, education, agriculture, entertainment, sports, recreation, health and technology, and spirituality, it's time where the white Jesus must pack his bags and go back home where he came from. It's time for Muhammad and Islam to pack their bags and go back to Saudi Arabia. It's time for the African to start asking those uncomfortable questions, which you are asking me from a religious space. Where were you? Who are you? Where? No, you're not asking me who I was and who I am. Ask me, what were you colonized to be? Because had the Chinese people colonized us, all of us here would have been Buddhists. Had Muslims colonized us, all of us here would have been Muslims. But because the British colonized us, then you say you're a Christian. The day you bring to me a recipe of how to change a goat to make it a sheep, I'll tell you how an African can become a Christian. My calling is that of identity. The fact that you can have 1,000 people who are in agreement to a wrong thing does not make it right. So right is right even when no one does it. Wrong is wrong even when everybody does it. And I think I'd given you a pretext to your question when I said it's a colonial tool that Africa finds itself in the Christian space.